everyone. This is Steve with This About Belief. And I wanted to go live and talk because I had such an amazing day yesterday. Wow. I can't really begin to describe it. And I have a list of things here that I want to discuss um, that maybe help me lead up to that day that I had yesterday. And so, and it's also just good information about law of attraction, manifestations, quantum jumping, beliefs, and so here's what I want to talk about today. Number one, manifestations. They're probably not what you're thinking, if you know what I mean. And number two, quantum jumping, how to do it, or do we need to learn that, or do we need to learn something else that might be more beneficial? Number three, beliefs. Beliefs control a huge amount of things, and well, pretty much everything from what I can tell. And the great thing about them, they're reflective. So we're going to talk about that. And then states of being create matter, not the other way around. In other words, what I'm want to do is talk about how to focus here instead of out there, because it all comes from in here. When we can get this part of it, set, then that out there is going to take care of itself. And then I want to talk about my high level consulting. And and I'm gonna make a few mentions of that right now. It's high level. And, and why don't I just do that? Why don't I talk about the last thing first, and then I'm gonna go back up to the beginning. And by the way, if if you get anything out of this, do press the like, subscribe, hit the bell button. It does help. Everybody says that, and it helps tremendously. And I love the comments. I answer every single one, okay? All of them, and, I like that the best, so if you can give me a comment, that's quite helpful. So, number 1, or really it's number 5 on my list here, which is high level consulting. Now, high level means it means high level. It means you're gonna get me consulting with you on a one-on-one basis, and and I mean rather exclusive and expensive and effective. So that's the three E's. It's exclusive, expensive, and effective. Now, when I say exclusive, I can only take on four clients at any one time. Just four. That's all I can handle because I'm thinking of your situation. Do I have it mapped out in a program? No, I don't. I've written a number of programs. I've written things about creating your perfect mate, how to manifest things, how to control beliefs, whole bunch of things. Four books I've written on the subject. Three of them are on Amazon. Uh, 50 belief ideas, your second 50 belief ideas, stories of unlimited possibilities, and abracadabra. So, I've got the written material out there, but more than that, I have the experience. I am a metaphysician. There's no question about that. I have created things and cured situations that people just don't really wouldn't believe or understand. Now, I want to back up from that just a bit because I truly, and none of us truly have the power that's necessary to cure anyone of anything. All right, so that's an understanding as well. And I'm going to be very humble here and just say, you know, I can't do anything. all I can do is point people in the right direction. And what I can present is the only thing any of us can present. And that is our view of creation, the all that is, the everything that exists, our view of it from our own perspective. That's all we can do. All the stories have been written, everything's been done, creation's done, blah, blah, blah. So, but now that's a very powerful point of view. And because of my experience on the planet, because, I'm a little older than maybe some of the other people that are showing up out there, I might not look as old as I am. Maybe I do. I don't know, depending on your perspective. But I have a lot of experience, both or all in relationships, in physical healing, and financial situations. So there's really nothing that I cannot address. Nothing that I cannot address. Why? Because I know it's all the same thing. It is so it's not like that I can, pull from a whole well, I can. I can pull from a lot of different experiences, legal, uh, health issues, relationships. Hey man, I've had them all. I've had all those experiences. And I can address these things from a physical level or a manifestational level. So you get to choose. And usually what I do is something that most people don't do. I can say, listen, we we need to bridge those beliefs that whoever I'm talking to at that moment has. So first I need to determine what those beliefs are. And if we can, we'll pull them out by the roots if they're not helpful and look at them and say, oh, this doesn't make any sense, and get rid of them. And once we do that, then we've cleared the way for the positive manifestations. And really, that's the process right there. It's not so much how to manifest things or how to create things or how to control matter because is impossible. It's the matrix, don't pay any attention to the spoon. Bending the spoon is impossible. But what we can do is focus on what we can do, which is change the frequency, the vibrational frequency around the spoon and move to a different universe where the spoon is already in that particular position. And then we move to the next one, and next one, and next one. And it appears as the spoon is bending. It's not, but that's the result that we're trying to achieve. It's the same thing. So that's my high level consulting. So it is expensive, it is exclusive, it's extremely effective. And so if you have some interest in that, when we want to talk about it, message me in the comments. Uh, and listen, it's not that just because you have a lot of money, I can take you because I will need people who are willing to do the work. And you can't say, "Hey, here's a check and make it happen." That's not gonna work, and I'll say no. I'll say no to that because I don't want anybody's money that I can't help in the way that they need to be helped. But I also need people to show up that are willing to do what is suggested because, again, there's nothing I can do to make those things happen. It's really 100% you. You are the center and total control of your own experience and your own life experience. There's nothing that I can do. I cannot reach over into your vibration and change anything All right? Nothing. I can't do that, unless you give me permission. And that permission is not me coming in and doing it. It's me, giving you the suggestion and you taking that suggestion and running with it. So that's the high level consulting. And so let's talk about manifestations now. Manifestations, that's what we want, right? We want the experience of jumping in, making things happen the way we want them to happen. And yeah, that's where the fun is. That's where, getting our hands in the clay really is. And but manifestations aren't, creating things out of whatever. It's not that. It's like what I was just alluding to or talking about is we need to incorporate something else. The other two things that I want to talk about, which is quantum jumping and states of being. So what we want to do in our manifestations is realize that we're not actually manifesting anything. What we're doing is we're quantum jumping, if you will, into a parallel reality where that thing that we are trying to manifest already exists. So to try to create that is like trying to bend the spoon. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do instead is drop into a state of being that represents that manifestation which we want. So these are all tied together. They're really the same thing. So when you see somebody talking about, hey, instant manifestations or quantum jumping or states of being, let's just bring it all together into a holistic situation. And so, in that holistic situation, let's talk about let's talk about health because I want to talk about that because it seems to be the thing that most people find the most difficult thing to break away from, and it could be any category. It could be the financial career fulfillment. It could be the relationships, personal relationships, business relationships, family relationships, plenty of those to go around. But let's talk about health because, you get your diagnosis or whatever from the doctor, and that's an authority figure. And there are a lot of beliefs within there that, when I say within there, within our own minds and psyches, that hold a lot of power over us. So we need to break free of those beliefs and then at the same time bridge them. So I might say, hey, listen, if you're feeling like you've got a terminal issue of some sort, then let's find an alternative physical uh, cure for that. And by the way, I'm not looking to treat symptoms or anything like that. Now that's our system that we have in the United States and many places around the world is built around treating the symptoms. Why? Because symptoms are easy to identify. They give people relief for a moment. They keep people coming back. They don't solve the problem and they keep the income streams coming for the pharmaceuticals, the doctors, and the insurance companies. As simple as that. And so I'm not interested in participating in that program because I'm not part of it. And I don't want to be part of it. So I'm looking for the cure. And the cure is always going to be a vibrational belief. A cure is a blockage of energy that we need to get rid of. So the cure is getting rid of a block of pure, positive, healing energy that's available to any of us all the time, but we keep it from coming with certain beliefs or certain ideas that we have about the way things are. And that may not be the way things are. They're probably not the way you believe they are. So I might come in with say you've got cancer, I might come in with like a physical cure for that, which might be raise your uh, alkaline, get rid of your acidity, lower your acidity levels through this particular treatment, quote unquote treatment. Nothing pharmaceutical. I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming anything like that. I can't cure anybody. You have to do that yourself. We've already talked about that. But just to reiterate, um, but I need to believe to bridge those beliefs with you. At the same time, I'm going to say, okay, let's address the real issue, which is where's the belief? What's going on here? Really, what's in here that is blocking that pure positive healing energy that you should have right now, instantly. So now the only thing that will keep that delayed is getting working our way through that belief. So understand that you can do all this yourself, and it's it's not necessarily difficult. But what I have found that when people try to work on themselves, there's issues with, well, let's say ego. Ego comes into play, and it's gonna defend itself. So to give you a good example that just popped into my mind, um, just now was, I started working on some self-worth issues that I had, and the first thing I did was I had to recognize that because I didn't know I had them, and then all of a sudden I said, "Well, I have some self-worth issues. I must have because I see these reflections out here in the physical reality that appears to be something going on out there. It's not, it's something going on in here." So I said, "Well, I must have something going on in here that is representative of a negative uh, belief about my self-worth." And the very first thing that came up was, "No, you don't." You know, was denial. It was like my ego said, "No, you don't." In other words, don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain. The Wizard of Oz analogy. You don't pay any attention to that because, we need to protect this negative belief to protect us, us being that negative belief. That's how we survive, that's who we are. So, you say, oh, denial. Well, that's kind of the first clue that hey, there's something going on here. I need to pay attention to this. So now you've done 80% of the work right there. 80%, probably more like 90%. Now you look at that belief and you say, this doesn't make any sense. Boom, you're done. That is the work. And you do that in every category. And so relationships, that can be, of course, the health we just talked about, and bridging belief ideas. And and with that health, I came up with a little an acronym, which is called vibrational. It's called VIBE, the VIBED, vibrational intuitive bioenergetic diagnosis. Just a fancy way of saying, let's dig into these beliefs and find out what's going on, diagnose that, pull out the beliefs, and make sure, let's look at them and, make sure they don't make any sense because they're not going to. And then boom, they're gone. Now, that doesn't mean that they'll be finished and over with and done with because they're sneaky little uh, uh, very aggressive at trying to stay alive ideas. Because 2 or 3 months later, I started noticing the same thing showing up around self worth issues. And I said, wait a minute, I dealt with this already. What's going on? And I said, "Okay, what's happening? What are these what are these ideas, beliefs that I have?" Bam, I got the list again. It was slightly altered a little bit here and there, they changed some things around. I said, "Wait a minute. Listen, let's not do this again. This is crazy. This doesn't make any sense." So I had to re-examine. It's ongoing process. It's an ongoing journey. It's a delve into our own who we are, and this is what it's all about, is finding out more about who we are. So, that was kind of a combination of the things that I wanted to talk about. Now, I did talk about manifestations, and manifestations are not what we think they are. They are us quantum jumping into a parallel reality where they already exist. And but the one thing I didn't really get into was states of being. I did talk about beliefs and control, and they're reflective. And I was just reviewing my notes here just to make sure I got it all covered. So states of being create the matter. Okay, it doesn't matter, right? So when it doesn't matter, that means our state of being is in a position where it won't create matter. But when we react to something, then it matters. So then now our state of being is in a position where it will create matter. Now it won't really create the matter, it will create a vibrational frequency that will cause us to quantum jump. We don't have to learn how to quantum jump. We're doing that. Every time we think or vibrate or whatever we're doing exist, we're quantum jumping. That's what creates the illusion of time. And bam, 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 we're quantum jumping a billion, zillion times, a second. I don't know how much, a lot. So many times that we can't even, conceive of it with our tiny little brains. Now, and so what we're doing really is we need to get back to the state of being. So the state of being is back to the belief. And so what's our state of being? Our state of being is what we believe about what's showing up in front of us, what kind of labels and definitions we're putting on those circumstances. So circumstances don't matter, but states of being matters. If I don't mind, it doesn't matter. And so that means if I don't put a definition on it, it won't matter. It won't recreate. It won't remember itself, recollect itself back together into a form of matter. So again, we need to, get back in here, work from the inside out. It's an inside job, of course. So we need to work from the inside out. And how do we do that? Well, we're back to the day that I had yesterday, which was I just felt great. I woke up. Are things going perfect? No, I got these kind of things. I feel like I'm a little bit stuck. Okay, now wait a minute. I heard something, just like last week, which was redefine everything to your benefit. So stuck doesn't sound like it's to my benefit. So instead, I changed that to, okay, I am here in this moment, examining and enjoying the peace and quiet of not doing too much. And there's not much coming to me. And how do I feel about that? Well, there's where I can make a choice. I can say, okay, what should I be doing? Which I've done a good bit of that over the last couple months. And then I've said at the same time, I said, well, I'll do something when I know it's really right, when when I'm really lined up with it. And so that's why I'm doing this. It came to me. I said, "Man, let's do a live." I had it on my schedule from a couple months ago. I didn't quite feel lined up with it. And so now, between the high level consulting and being in redefining mode myself, because hey, I'm on the planet just like everybody else. I am doing these processes along with everyone else. And as a consultant and as a metaphysician, which I am, a lot of people don't know that, don't realize that. And that's where I'm here to help, is to guide them and to say, hey, you are a metaphysician. You just have to claim it and then learn how to control your, if you will, your reactions and your emotions, and then redirect that energy to those things that you want. And it's kind of a little bit easier to stay in the negative mode than it is in the positive mode. And so that's what I'm here for in the consulting area. And I just jumped back into that for a second. But states of being are really what controls, and that's the objective. So again, yesterday I was kind of listening to some things that I listen to a lot of this information every day. Sometimes I listen to my own videos. Sometimes I'm listening to or Abraham Hicks or Neville Goddard or um, Alan Watts or Napoleon Hill. He's certainly been an influence. And going way back, when I was 9 years old in the fourth grade, I was reading uh, um, things like self hypnosis books, UFO books, and Maxwell Maltz book on, I can't remember the title right now, but Maxwell Maltz. I'll come up with it in a minute. And then later on, Jose Silva, the Silva mind control method, just amazing stuff. Did I understand it back then? No. I tried it a few times. It sounded kind of sort of worked, kind of didn't. And so I didn't really pay that much attention. I didn't understand the level of depth of what was going on there. I was 9. What can I say? And then through my teens, I was manifesting crazy stuff and doing stupid stuff too. So one time I had set this big field on fire, behind our house, and wow, it caught on really quick. I was playing with matches, honestly. I was whatever, sixth, seventh, eighth grade. Can't remember. So I caught this field on fire behind the house, and it was dry. I mean, super dry. And I said, "Let's see what'll happen. It won't go. The fire won't happen that fast. I can just stomp it out." Well, it went, and it went super fast because it was super dry, and so the whole field was on fire all of a sudden. And so I ran inside and I said, "Hey, I need to call the fire department. How do I do that?" And so we called the fire department, and they came out and they put the fire out, and it wasn't a big deal. And this was back in the '60s. Oh, I just kind of blew my age here, but it was back then when things were different. You didn't get a ticket or get arrested for setting the field on fire, or calling the fire department. And there's crazy stuff like that. It was more like, oh, okay, we got out. We're out here. We put the fire out. We did our job. Everybody did their job. Let's go home. And then these ladies there was a bunch of people there in the neighborhood. And they're like, "What's going on?" Old Steve set the fire. Set the field on fire. And there was these two ladies, from the neighborhood, and one looked at the other one and said, "Oh, what a fine young man!" And for just owning up to what he did and calling the fire department and handling the situation, My dad looked over at me, and he knew I'd gotten into a bunch of stuff and gotten out, and he said, "Man, I don't believe I just don't believe you can step in a bucket of shit and come out smelling like a rose. How do you do that?" And I said, "I don't know." He said, "Have you ever thought about politics?" And I said, "Hell no. I'm not even gonna think about that. That's too, yeah, ugly for me." Anyway, that's that little sojourn off of our trip here, but I thought that might be fun, and I've got plenty of stories about that. Things that are really, in a way, Neville Goddard type things, where he got out of the army, by using some techniques, and I got out of some similar situation using similar techniques. Uh, and then since then, I've learned a lot more about how to actually use those techniques. So those experiences are all come into play to help me navigate, life on the planet. And one of the things that I do recall is, when I was a good bit younger, I said, I'm here on the planet to experience everything one last time. And I didn't really, I didn't quite get that. And now, I get that now. I said, well, had I known what I was wishing for, I probably would have said, let's temper that down a little bit because there's some things that I went through that I would rather not have gone through. Although now that I've done them, I've got such a depth of spiritual realization out of those that I am, in the past tense, glad I went through it. I wasn't happy about it at the time. Trust me, I was like terrified. And but I managed to get through them um, in a way almost by default or by accident. Then one of my own personal spiritual coaches and consultants that I talked to told me, he said, the reason you got through that was because of this particular redefining and dropping of your need to be out of that situation when you just accepted it for what it was. And you said this particular sentence. He said, that's when things change for you. And going back to that moment and looking at it, it was like as soon as I thought what I thought, I didn't say anything out loud. Everything shifted in front of my eyeballs. I mean, it was like bam, just like wow. And the guy that was sitting next to me, I wanted to punch him like that and say, "Did you see that?" But I also kind of intrinsically knew that he didn't see it because he wasn't the same guy that was here a millisecond ago. You know what I mean? He wasn't the same one that was sitting with me before I had that thought. He's a whole different person. The whole room, everybody in it was different. It was completely different. Completely. Whole new universe. And look, when I first started this little story, it's a whole new universe now. So that's the way it works. Now the question is, how much can you shift in your thoughts and beliefs and your states of being to create a different life? Or if you want to focus in on health issues, or you want to focus in on relationships, or you want to focus in on money or career, how much can each one of us shift our beliefs to 180 degrees? Now, you may not want to do that because of what kind of damage you might do to the systems you're in. But because I had some situations like that too, where I was like, "Holy moly, what the heck just happened?" And it caused me to have physical issues like seizures and having the room spin around while, I had to sleep with one foot on the floor literally to keep, myself grounded enough to get some sleep. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So just to know that when I am speaking, and sometimes I talk slow, and as a relatively speaking, as coming across on the YouTube channels, I really come across speaking quite slowly, and it's because I measure the words as much as I possibly can, and I frankly, when it comes to doing my coaching consulting, I don't like the word coaching so much. I like consulting a lot better. Um, I want to listen at least, twice as much as I'm speaking because I learn, a lot more that way. And 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 hopefully when I'm speaking, what I'm saying, I'm really more interested in having an impact than getting all, jumping up and down. I know that 80% of my communication is not so much what I'm saying, but how I'm saying it. But what I am saying is way more important than how I'm saying it. It really is. It's the 80-20 rule. Let's focus on, the real material that I'm delivering here with the law of attraction. So with that, I am gonna, cut this off. I'm gone for what, the 36 minutes already. Is that crazy? Um, again, like, subscribe it, hit the bell, make a comment, please. If you want to know more about the consulting program, the high level, it is effective, it's efficient, and it's expensive. The three E's. But again, I'm only looking for four clients. You're going to have to qualify me, and I'm going to have to qualify you. I need somebody that can listen and is willing to put the effort in. If you say you are, and and I think that's true, then we'll get to work. So again, thanks for listening, tuning into the live. If you own live, that's fantastic. If you're seeing this later, that's fantastic. Check out any of the other YouTube videos that I have out there, and thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time.